Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm here with the brother Zion.
Hey, Shalom, Akim.
We'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ukakwadash. We'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone, who do have the 100% truth according to the Bible, man. And me and the brother, we're doing an in-transit, an in-transit lesson going into, this precept, that I have here before you. You want to read it real quick, man?
Matthew 26 and 41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Yeah, Khan, the reason why we wanted to touch upon this, me and the brother were kind of just talking about how, man, if we can make 100 million lessons in one day, we would, bro. If we can follow all the laws to a T, we would. But the thing is what? The flesh is weak, man. That's why it says, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The scriptures say in the book of Sirach, the 2nd chapter, when ye come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for what? Temptation. So when we come into this ministry, our main thing is we're going to be tempted in all mannerisms of ways, man. The scriptures say, think it not strange that fiery trial, which is to try you, man. The Most High is going to put a lot of obstacles in your way to see, if you really for this, Case in point, sometimes, you get behind on your lessons. Or sometimes you get behind in the spirit. Sometimes you get behind on your prayers. Sometimes you get behind on congregating with brothers. Sometimes you get behind in all different types of things. That's one way that temptation it comes. You're like, damn, bro, I've been losing this temptation, and I haven't been doing the work. But the thing is what your spirit that you're going off, that, which is a good thing. In your spirit, that, like, damn, bro, if I could just fucking do my lessons, I would. If I can just fucking put my feelings to the side and just keep pushing forward, I would, But sometimes what? The flesh wins, man. Because what? The flesh is weak, right? But the spirit is indeed willing, man. You want to do right. You want to do the best you possibly can, but at times you do get low in the spirit, man.
Yeah, like the brother saying, y'all get low in the spirit, man. But hey, why are we doing this? There's I'll pull up this precept real quick. Let me get this real quick. This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 10, and it reads, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure, for if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. So that's why we're doing this, man, because hey, the Lord said, we got to keep doing his work, keep feeding his sheep, until he comes, man.
We'll never fall.
Hey, that's, ye shall never fall. Hey, it's a beautiful time that we're coming into, man. Me and the brother, we have a testimony too, man. We're going through our own stuff too in life, and being here in Babylon the Great, dealing with these women, dealing with our families, dealing with, finances and stuff like that. That situation, all that stuff is, it's vexing to us, man.
And it tempts you to want to go ahead and go off, bro. But honestly, these are the moments that is the time you're supposed to actually get closer to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You're supposed to get closer to the Lord and the Spirit. Me and the brother, we started congregating with the other Akim, man. We had our own little things that have went back, but it's all good. The Lord had it to where things have been resolved, and me and the brother, we went to a little spot right here by the canal. And we see, 2 chariots, man. 2 chariots to confirm, that, hey, man, we're doing good, man. Just keep pushing forward in the ministry, man. Scriptures say, he that putteth down the plow, right, is not worthy of the kingdom of heaven, man. But what are we, Akim, still doing? Even though we talk about all the shit that we're going through, doing the work. We're still going out to the highways and the byways. We're still making lessons, man. Even though what we talk about, our temptations, our things that we're going through in life that are causing us to maybe get stressed, fall back on some things that we could be doing, but it's all good. It's all about being a good soldier for Yahweh Shai, man. The ministry, you gotta be a soldier, man. Not let these things that have you going, man, really getting you off the track, man. Getting you off the track. You're not working, you're not doing the work of the Lord. You're not trying to study. You're not trying to because you're just so beat up in the flesh, man. Which it happens. Hey, you need to gotta be strong, man. You know, we gotta be strong and keep pushing forward, man. You know, and it's not easy. No one said it's easy, man. All right, we gotta.
Yeah, kind of like the brother's saying, man. You know, we gotta fight the flesh, man. And you know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the brothers have their own testimonies of, you know, going through, you know, some certain type of battles in the flesh, man, and you know, losing to them sometimes, you know. But hey, the whole point is, you know,
keep doing the work.
Yeah, keep doing the work. Let me get this precept real quick. Salakia. Get this one right here real quick. You want to read down real quick?
Proverbs 24:16. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief.
Kind of like, you know, what the brother just read. You know, a just man. You know, a brother who's doing the work. You know, who's actually, you know, being you know, ashamed of, you know, his sins. You know, repenting, being in a remorseful spirit, rather than a dude who's, you know, just keeps doing that, you know, the sins, and, you know, keep doing the shit to feed his flesh. You know, those people are just gonna, you know, hey, they're gonna fall into death, man. You know, they're gonna fall into, you know, hey, a nuke is gonna fall onto their heads, man. You wanna,
that's a good precept, because, you know, as exactly what the brother said, man. You look, hey, a just man falleth 7 times, man. You know, the thing is you have a brother that's super sincere in the ministry, and, you know, he'll still fall, man. You know, he'll fall on hard times, or he'll fall on hard, you know, temptations that he'll lose, and it's fine. You know, it's fine. The thing is he getting back up and repenting and doing the work, man, doing those first works. But what the wicked, you know, they fall into these temptations and they stay in that temptation, man. They stay in feeding the flesh and things of the world, man. They don't try to, you know what, man, I need to put this shit down. It's affecting me with my relationship with the Lord. You know, they don't go off and say that. You know, they don't feel ashamed. They don't feel no type of way. But, you know, when you have a brother that's sincere doing the work, hey, man, you may have it to where you may fall, bro. But the thing is, and we're not saying also, you know, this is an excuse to just go ahead and, you know, go off. But, you know, because, you know, this is not what that is. But the thing is it's gonna happen, man. You know, it's gonna be times where, you know, you're gonna lose. But it's all about coming back and repenting and, you know, doing the work, man.
Yeah, and like, you know, hey, and, you know, if you do, you know, some brothers may have fell, but look, this just came to my mind too, is the spirit. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 28, and it reads, "For as it was your mind to go astray from Yahweh, so being returned, seek him 10 times more." You know, so that's saying, you know, hey, if your mind went astray from the Lord for a little bit, you know, you got to get your ass up on and get back to the Lord way more, man. 10 times more, just meaning a perfect, you know, sense, man. You need a balance. That means, hey, you need to balance the Lord more in your life, man. You need to, you know, you got to put the Lord first in your life, basically. You know, you got to keep that balance within your life too, but most importantly, you got to get on track with the Lord, you know, so you get that spiritual money, man.
Yeah. And man, look what's going on around the world right now, bro. We're about to cash out on this spiritual money, man. So.
Hey, Trump was just saying, you know, they're doing a mass production on ammunition and bullets, I think, or something like that. Stockpile of weapons, man.
Oh yeah, here too in Cuba, we had those 3 military trucks, bro.
Oh yeah, right here where me and the brother live, man. There's down the street, you know, in some fields, there's 3. Looks like 3 FEMA, you know, military. You know, they're the Humvees. They're the Humvee trucks, but it looks like they're gonna be used for martial law when it drops, man. Because they're just parked on a trailer on the side of the road. You know, why would they have them up there like that? Street tires too.
So hey, man, you know, the brothers mentioned that, you know, perfectly. You know, stack up on your spiritual money, because you don't want to be going to Jacob's trouble broke.
Nope. And you don't want to be in a condemned spirit either.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a condemned spirit, which is what it means by being broke. You know, you're gonna be like, damn, well, I'm not gonna give you, Lord. Yeah, brothers that, you know, are pushing this work, you know, week in and week out, man. You're gonna have more than enough. You know, scriptures say, in famine thou shalt have more than enough, in the book of Psalms, man. You know, because what? You have brothers that are making lessons, you know, in the spirit 24/7, you know, going crazy, you know, going hard in the ministry. You know, you better believe, you know, that their account, man, and coming into Jacob's trouble is, you know, it's hefty. You know, hey, man, you're gonna be good. Don't worry about it. Which us, you know, we try to follow suit, man. We're trying to stack up on our spiritual riches.
You going up?
You know, we're trying to stack up on our spiritual, you know, coins. Coming to Jacob's trouble, man. You know,
Yeah, like the brother's saying, you know, we're trying to stack on our spiritual coins. You know, we don't want to go with our lamps being with no oil. You know, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 6, and it reads, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure." You know, so in these, you know, that's pretty much the point on this. But you know, hey, we gotta fear the Lord, man. You know, you gotta, hey, pray and ask the Lord for more fear of him, man, because hey, it's gonna be a real thing when he comes down and hey, sets his wrath upon these people, man.
No, that's pretty much all I had on.
You know, hey, well, with that, I hope this lesson was edifying and reached the ears of the elect, man. You know, with that, we're gonna say, Tawadi Yahaba Shemi Ashai, Shalom.